Oh, you got the. We are live in the Bullpen Podcast. I am your host, Chris Krogman. Welcome in my co-host, Adam Kunos. You can find us on the Twitterverse at ShyBears1985 for myself and at Kunos19 for the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Kunos. We are sponsored by everybody's favorite sports apparel brand, Fanatics. Head on over to Fanatics for all your 2022 sports gear needs, because I'm not going to make this a baseball podcast because I'm getting more and more upset as this lockout continues. I really had high hopes. I'm telling you, especially, within the last week or two, I thought, we're down to the nitty gritty, but of course not. This is always how union negotiations go. It always comes down to the very last minute. And then we might even lose. We're going to lose some games. I guarantee we lose some spring training games. So tonight on the podcast, we're going to talk about the updates. We got a lot of good stuff. Honestly, there's been some really good reporting going on from guys, at the MLB network, from The Athletic, from ESPN. So we'll talk a lot about what those guys have brought us. Jeff Passan and what's old boy's name again from The Athletic?
I can't remember the name on top of my head.
That guy.
We're
going to talk about
that guy.
We're going to talk about what they've said. There's just so many. Evan Drellich. From The Athletic has posted a lot of good updates on the lockout. We'll talk about some alternate sports to talk about to enjoy while we're waiting for baseball to start. It's freaking freezing here in Denver. It's like 1 degree, -2 degrees this morning. I know it's like 75 where Adam's at, so he's over there sweating and wearing.
I am not going to
shorts.
comment on the. I am wearing basketball shorts. I'm not going to deny that. I am not going to comment any further on the weather because I know some of our followers do not live in the sunshine state of warm weather. So if I start saying good things about the weather, I will get trolled on Twitter and get yelled at. Pretty much guaranteed.
That's all right. You sweat all the time.
This is true.
And have bad hair days, so it's okay.
Well, I have actually started going no hair, but that's a different topic for another day.
Well, Adam, how are you tonight, man? It's Wednesday. It's February 23rd. We're almost done with the second month of the year already. Shortest month of the year, obviously, but still. How are you?
I am doing good. I mean, again, it's February. It's hard to believe that we're almost done with February. It seemed like yesterday we were just beginning the year 2022, and now we're looking at March 1st, which shout out to my wife. March 1st is her birthday, so early happy birthday to my wife. And it's hard to believe because I got school going on. School ends next week. I got a week off, then I kick back up with school, and it's going to be a full year from when I start the next quarter to when I finish. So there's just a lot of things going on right now.
Busy life. Happy life, busy life, whatever all the sayings are. It's it'll be fun. That's good that you got a lot going on. I am also have a full plate, so let's talk about this shenanigans. So they've been meeting every day since Monday. They're set to meet again tomorrow in the Sunshine State of Florida. We are on day 84. It feels like day 184. Major League Baseball let out a statement that if there is no deal by February 28th, so by my calculations, that's about 5 business days away, the regular season games could be canceled and not made up. Loss of games and loss of revenue. The Players Association said the MLB is setting a hard deadline to play a full season for Monday. They're the ones that locked us out. They barely had any contract talk for 2 months post-lockout. They have yet to make a single good faith offer to even initiate real conversations to get a deal done. Just to make a real offer is what they're looking for. And that's from Alex Wood the San Francisco Giants pitcher. Adam, what do you think about those two sides of the coin? Do you think like hey, I'm gonna lock you out of your job, and if you don't do what I say, you can't come back. But you haven't even offered me like a decent salary. It's like, well, we're gonna put a hard deadline on Monday for you to accept my shitty terms.
I mean, I'm looking at the statement right here on my laptop that I have next to my big computer, and I'm in agreement with Alex Wood. MLB set a really tough standard to get a deal done by Monday to get a guaranteed full 162 schedule in place. And the one thing I look at is when the lockout started, they had what? Couple conversations, couple meetings, and then nothing for 2 months. I mean, we had no talks for December, no talks for January. We just started talking at the beginning of February. You had 2 months to try to work this out. Had you talked within those 2 months, you would have had something done. You could have had something done by then.
But these are anxiety tactics, Adam.
I mean, my anxiety has been jumping up and down the last couple of weeks looking at this shit. So,
and you're not even in it.
I know. Well, I'm close enough to it that I may drive down to Jupiter, Florida, and be like, hey, I host the Bullpen podcast. I can help you with this conversation. I'm actually getting a degree in sports management. Let me in the damn doors. And I'll probably get arrested.
You should just have everybody on the podcast. We could live stream it on StreamYard and on Facebook and YouTube and the Twitterverse. And fans can come in, and former players, and everybody can just attack these two sides on what they think should happen. And I guarantee everybody's going to be on the player side because, nobody likes millionaire greedy owners. Even though I'm usually on the owner side of most arguments, which is not normal. But I also have softened that stance in the last few years. So I'm on both sides of it. Everybody needs to just come together. Peace, harmony, love, kumbaya, roast some marshmallows, sing some campfire songs, make some money, enjoy some baseball. Stop dicking around with our lives. It's a you're in entertainment, dude. Is Brad Pitt out there fucking arguing for like $22 million over $20 million? Like, come on. Let's go.
And I mean, again, you are in the entertainment business. This sports, if you look at sports as a game, is also a competitive business. You are in entertainment that is pretty much going from February to November. You're putting entertainment on the field to draw in fans, draw in revenue. And the fact that you're not going to have this entertainment on the field for a good couple of weeks now, I mean, granted, you have minor league camps which are in session, and who knows, maybe the next podcast we're going to talk strictly minor league baseball. I mean, if this thing continues, you are losing revenue. You are losing fans from this. I mean, your younger generation are probably looking up like things from the 94 strike and how this affected them going forward. You lost a lot of fans, and you're probably going to repeat the same process. You are doomed to repeat history if you do not learn from it. And you are going to lose fans because of this.
I mean, like, full transparency, for me, thinking about like this, this game and everything and this sport, when I, before we got back into this and started doing this, I hadn't watched a whole ton of baseball, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast was to really get back into baseball. And this is really like 94 really like kind of jacked it up for me. That's when I really started like not watching the game as much and stepping away. I mean, I still love baseball. Don't get me wrong. The sport itself is fantastic, but just not being as big of a fan and making time for it, not making it a priority anymore. But this is another situation that's going to do that to a lot of fans. Like you said, Adam, it's going to be tough to keep the crowds coming back when you're being difficult. There's nothing for the crowds to watch. I mean, regardless of if they know any of the details of the collective bargaining agreement or anything like that, if there's nothing to watch, you can't have fans of nothing. So,
and I mean,
I don't get it.
I mean, if you look at, I'm going to go back. 2020, completely different scenario where you didn't have any sports at all because of when the pandemic started. So you didn't have any sports going. You had online gaming going on, kind of take off, and now you get into a lockout situation to where you're going 2 out of 3 seasons to where you're starting out in April with no games on the field. I mean, obviously 2020, completely different situation. I'm throwing that outdoor, but 2022 is more controllable of a situation to where you could have resolved this months ago. You could have resolved this last summer during the season and say, hey, we got a deal done. The 2022 season is not in jeopardy. We're going to be back in February, March after the World Series. We will be back guaranteed. Now, you're not sure.
Yeah, they weren't going to do that. It was never going to be that way.
I mean, that's wishful thinking.
It's never how labor negotiations go.
No, it's wishful thinking on my part, but
well, let's talk about what the biggest problems are. So they, yeah, I'm not even going to talk about how they're going to make up games because fuck that shit. I don't want to talk about 7 inning doubleheaders. That's just not what I want to talk about tonight.
Fair enough.
The thing that's kind of holding everything back is the competitive balance tax. And what this boils down to is essentially money. The owners, it's revenue sharing with the players is essentially what it comes down to. The owners want to set the threshold for the competitive balance tax lower, but charge teams more money or a higher tax rate. So currently it sits at $210 million. The players asked for it to go up to $235 million or $245 million, excuse me. Meaning that there's another $25 million that the owners can spend without a penalty. Therefore, they can spend more money to the players, so they can give them more money. So the owners only want the tax to go up $4 million. That is a quick math, $31 million gap. So the other side of that is that the owners only want, or the players, when they go over the threshold, when the teams go over the threshold, currently it's at 20% when you go over the threshold, like by a little bit, by up to $20 million. So if you go $19 million over the threshold, it's a 20% tax. They want to bump, or they want to keep that. The players want to keep that. And then it would go up to 32% if you went over by 20 to 40 million. It would be 62.5% if you went over by 40 plus million. And then the owners, I don't understand why they want to tax each other. This is the fucking nutty part. They want to tax it so instead of 20%, it would be 50%. Instead of 32%, it would be 75%. And then instead of 62.5%, it would be 100% tax. Basically meaning you're giving like another $250 million into the piggy bank of wherever this tax money goes. So the owners want to keep the threshold lower so that more teams will go over it, or that they'll go over faster, but have to pay more in taxes. Which I guess the lower end squads want this so that they can capture that money, because I'm sure it goes into competitive balance and they get some of that revenue share and they get some of that money. That's what I'm assuming happens. I'm no guru, obviously. This is 101 because we're just as ignorant as everybody else, and this is way too confusing. But very simply put, it's a money grab. You know, the players want more of it. The owners don't want to give up as much, but in reality, let's just meet in the middle, or let's find some common ground so that we can be competitive. And at the end of the day, the teams that spend the most amount of money are the most competitive. So if you're a low budget squad, you don't want to go over that threshold because you don't want to get taxed. But to be competitive, you're going to have to go over that threshold because you pretty much need a top 11 payroll to even compete for the World Series. We've seen the Rays. We love the Rays. We talk about them all the time. They're, excellent, excellent program, but they can't get the job done. They're just not getting it done yet. And maybe, someday a low budget squad will get the job done and actually win the World Series. But unless you have a top 11 payroll, there has not been a team that has won the World Series since like before 2011 that had a top 11 that did not have a top 11 payroll.
I mean, I think you go back to 2003 when the Marlins beat the Yankees in 6. I think they were the last team who had a very low payroll, had a low payroll, wasn't top 11, kind of in the middle, but they were probably the last team that had a low payroll as a whole team to win the World Series. I mean, because you think about it, after that, they pretty much tore that team down right at the get-go of 2004. You had the White Sox, who were kind of in the middle of the payroll. Cardinals, same thing. They were near the top of the payroll in 06. Red Sox are always at the top, so that's the guarantee. Phillies are pretty much always at the top. Yankees are top pretty much all the time. Giants were about in the middle of the 6-7 range when they won in 10, 12, and 14. Yeah, I would say it would be the Marlins in 2003 would be the last team that had the lowest payroll, if I remember that correctly.
I mean, that sounds right. I mean, and even if it's not. So the MLB is trying to tell us that there's not a big disparity between the high payrolls and the low payrolls. And, some examples are, like we mentioned, the Rays, also the Brewers and A's, who have overcome a low payroll to make the playoffs, okay, and to make the World Series. But these are anomalies. This is 3 teams out of 30 that make the fucking playoff. Like, that's not enough. Like, you can't just say that's competitive balance. That's anomalies, and that's once in a while, and that's one or two teams a year that have a fucking shot, and it's just because guess what? They suck and they get super high draft picks, so they have super cheap, really good talent for a long time because guess what? The MLB is indentured servituding these young kids into playing baseball for like 7, 8, 10 years before they get a real payday. And that's how these low market teams are even able to compete. So the other part of this God damn it. I keep saying collective bargaining because it's CBT.
Yeah, I mean,
close. So competitive, what's the word? Competitive bargaining tax. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, is what's it called? Is draft pick penalties. So where is that in Passan's long ass thread shit? Oh god, I can't find it. Anyway, essentially what it comes down to is it's a tanking rule, and where like the worst team gets the top pick, it's like reverse order, so it's very similar to like football, but football teams don't tank. That's not really a thing, no matter how much people think it is. But low market baseball teams do, because they have to do what we just said. They have to stay competitive, so they need young talent, so they suck and draft accordingly. But they draft really well, so they're run really well in some aspects and then really poorly in others. So I think the proposal on the table was a lottery system. The Players Association wants the top 8 picks to be a lottery. MLB came back with top 3, which that's just fucking stupid because then you only have 3 shitty teams. I think you should do I can't remember what's the NBA lottery. Is it 8 or 10 or 12?
I believe it's 12. It's a 12-team lottery. and it's obviously you get more picks based off record. So if you have the
Right.
worst record, you get a percentage of
You get more
chances to get
balls
that first.
in
You
the
get
pit.
more you get more ping pong balls in the little lotto thingy. I can't think of the name, but
yeah.
And that goes same for the NHL. Based on if you have the worst record in NHL, you have the better chance of getting the number one pick. NFL is slowly based off of record.
Reverse
So
record. Yeah. It's record and then there's some tiebreakers as as teams tie and things like that. So it's not too big of a whatever. There's only 16 games in the NFL, so it's easy to not tank, and it's actually kind of hard to tank.
And that's something I kind of want to hit on, because you brought up a good point that other sports, people say they'll tank all the time. Obviously, you can see it in basketball where teams sometimes will tank at the end of the season. That's to get that high pick in the draft lottery. You brought up a good point. You say that teams that tank in the NFL are tanking. It is hard to tank in that league. I mean, you're going out there for 60 minutes playing competitive football, and I've seen it is hard to tank in the NFL, no matter like how bad your team is or just how's the season's going for you. It is hard to tank in that league. Baseball, it's kind of an up and down thing for me for tanking. If I'm gonna go with Baltimore, they've had the worst record I think the last couple years in the league. Are they going out there on purpose and just blowing games? I honestly don't think so. I think they're trying to be competitive on a daily basis. But again, like you said, it is hard to put a competitive team on the field when you don't have the financial resources to put a team that can go up against a Yankee team, an Astro team, a White Sox team, or now even Detroit with all the signings they had pre-lockout. It's going to be hard to field a team to be competitive against these really good teams.
So this goes back to salary cap ceiling and salary cap floor for me. If you have to spend at least, $100 million and you can't spend more than $300 million, let's say, or somewhere in between, I think that helps the players a lot because it puts more money in the kitty and, stops top end teams from spending too much money. But then again, those lower end teams, if you have that big of a disparity where it's only 100 and then you can't spend over 300, then, there's those top end salaries aren't going to be there. You're not going to see guys or you're not going to see deals like the Blue Jays went out on a spending spree. The Rangers went out on a spending spree. The Mets went out on a spending spree. You're just not going to see those massive contracts anymore, and top end salaries are going to come down just so that bottom salaries can come up, unless you make those bottom end teams spend like 150 or 175, and then top end is like 250, and you only have like $100 million difference if you don't have the revenue, and you take that tax money and you make it possible for those lower end teams to spend that amount of money, but they have to do it. That money gets automatically allocated to your salary cap or your salary base, and you can't just keep it. You can't just say, okay, cool, I'm just going to tuck it in my pocket and go buy my Benz and, roll on 20s or whatever. So yeah, the other, we talked a little bit about the percentages and what the MLB Players Association wants. As far as the owner's concerned, like I mentioned, it was the threshold for the salary or for the tax right now is $210 million. The union wants it to go up to $245 million. That's their first floor or first jump. So that's their initial offer. Then it would go up annually by pretty much $7 million, 252, 259, 266, and 273 in the final year. So yeah, 7 million every year. And the owners turned around and said, 214, like I mentioned, and then up by $2 million a year, 216, 218, and 222. Big difference there. Big difference. So if looking at it in a broad perspective, I do not see a path forward. If that's the disparity, that's fucking humongous. You're talking at the end of it, a $273 to $222 million gap. That's $50 million gap. Could they split the difference and just make it 25? Maybe, but I don't see the owners doing that.
No, I honestly don't see the owners budging on that deal. I mean, they are pretty much dead set on not going over 214 million for the CBT. They are pretty much locked down, saying we will not spend a penny more than this number. And the players union can come back and say, all right, they can bring it down. Maybe they come back tomorrow and say, okay, we're not going to do the 235. Let's do 220. See if that kind of budget is. But I don't think it's going to make a difference. Like you said, the owners are deadlocked on staying to that one number.
Or they're just saying that to get the players to budge. And that's essentially what both sides are doing. Is they're digging in their heels.
Yeah.
They're digging in their heels, trying to make it, trying to puff up and act like they're not going to play, or they're not going to let them play, or whatever side you're speaking from.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to see which side's going to blink first in these talks right now. I think in past we've seen one side kind of like budge and say like, okay, they're going to be the ones that will give in. Right now, it's so hard to see which side is going to make that first jump over the line and say, okay, fine, we're going to accept these terms. Because both sides are deadlocked on what they want, that they see only one way forward, and that's with their proposal and not the other person's proposal. So it's really hard to see who's going to blink first. I mean, if you had to pick a side, Chris, if you had to pick a side on who's going to blink first, who do you think blinks first, the owners or the players? Players?
But, I mean, the owners are losing money, but they have a lot more of it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I could see the players.
A bulk of the majority of players don't make top end money, and they don't have a ton of money, so they're gonna the lesser paid players are gonna be like, look, I need my salary check. We need to sign something. We need to get back to work. We need to play. I don't know how the unions bank system works. Like if the lower end players can get some sort of salary from the union, like another union would do if they were on strike or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
I that's a good question. Yeah, because you're going to see a lot of players probably chime a little harder when that first payday comes around. They're not getting paid. I mean, with any strike, once that first paycheck that you're supposed to be getting is not there, then you go like, okay, we need to get something done because I'm now losing revenue into my own pocket, and I need something to live off of. It pretty much comes at what can you live off of without getting paid. So, and then another thing that they brought up was the minimum pay. So MLB proposed to adding $10,000 to minimum pay each year. So for 2030, it will start at $64K and then jump up $10,000 each year. So by the end of 2026, minimum pay would be at $68K for base salaries. The players union are offering.
Wait, what?
So both sides came with
680K, not 68K.
Sorry.
I was like, Jesus Christ, I make more than that.
I do too. Sorry, 680K. MLB is proposing a 30,000K increase, so they're looking at 895,000 by the end of 2026. 608,000 versus 895,000. That's you're looking at $200,000 difference in between what each side wants right now for minimum pay. I mean, can they meet in the middle somewhere with this?
Well, you're also talking like a jumping off point, is a big disparity. It's 640 to 775. That's a $135,000 difference right off the bat. So no. And these are the guys that probably make up a majority of the league. I mean, yeah, there's an all-star on every team, or so they tell us. But no, I mean this is a massive difference. And unfortunately, the guys in the players association that are having these conversations aren't those younger players anymore. They're seasoned veterans that are trying to negotiate for these guys. But how much do they really care about this portion of the deal? Do they really care if the lower players get more money, or do they care if the mid to upper players get more money? It's the guys that are getting those first big contracts. And I think that's where they need to focus, is lowering that age, or those, years of servitude before you can get your big contract. And they need to stop letting them dick around with their like games served and things like that. It's basically like from your draft year or whatever, you have 5 years before you can get a payday. If you make it to the bigs and you succeed, awesome. If not, then you have to sign another small deal to get yourself there, or you go year to year, whatever the case may be. And I know I'm just spitballing here because that's obviously not going to work to go year to year, because there's injuries and things like that could happen if people want guaranteed money. I understand all that, but at the same time, the teams are committing a certain amount of money to guys getting good, and a majority of them don't. So the teams spend a shit ton of money developing these guys, and I know that we've talked about how they don't pay minor league players very much, and they live in shitty situations. But like, you got coaches that are former players, you got guys coming up that are trying to teach these kids the next level of baseball and develop this talent. And that they have facilities that they've built. The owners and the teams sink a lot of money into getting these guys good, and a lot of them don't. And it's a shitty investment for them. So I also understand why they want that extended amount of, contract for these good young players to make or to kind of recapture that revenue, because people want to go pay to see these players that are really good, especially the young kids, Tatis and Lindor and Machado and these guys that get these big contracts. That's what people want to see. So the owners want to see that differential in what they're paying them versus what the gates are showing, what the ticket sales are showing. So like I said, I understand both sides of this thing, but like it's a chess match, and this is, who's going to bite first. So I don't know. I'm frustrated.
I mean, you're one of probably millions of fans right now who are frustrated with Major League Baseball right now. I mean, it's February 23rd. We were supposed to have spring training games today. We were supposed to be in the middle of spring training games today. We were supposed to have games in Arizona, games in Florida. We don't have any of that. MLB Network's doing a couple hours of MLB tonight, and then they're showing baseball movies. They had the Ken Griffey Jr. documentary on. They're supposed to be showing spring training games in the afternoon. I was looking forward to watching a ton of spring training, getting excited for the season, talking picks, who's going to win the divisions. We can't do that because rosters are incomplete. Players are still free agents. I mean, I think one thing you forget, once this hopefully gets done, there's going to be stuff. It's going to be
it's going to happen
downhill.
so fast.
It's going to happen so fast. There's going to be free agents being signed left and right. Players are going to start reporting to camps pretty much right off the bat. And
I wonder if there's going to be a lot of injuries because they're going to rush to get.
I guarantee you there will be a lot of injuries. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that each team's not going to have at least one or two injuries coming out of spring training, maybe severe injuries that they're going to have to deal with. But I mean, I'm frustrated because there's supposed to be baseball on TV right now. We don't have that.
I missed that Ken Griffey Jr. documentary. I want to go back and watch that.
It's a good documentary. I've seen it a couple of times. It's definitely good. I think the last movie we watched on MLB Network was A League of Their Own, and that's such a good movie.
For sure.
So Chris,
I do love that movie.
Yeah. So speaking of, since there's no baseball, what do we do if there is no baseball? What's on the docket for if there's no baseball? What are we going to do? We'll obviously talk something every other Wednesday here on the Bullpen Podcast. We'll think of something.
Definitely. What are we going to do if there's no baseball? So there's college baseball.
Yeah.
And we can look at the guys that are going to be in the league if they ever come back and there's ever a league again. We can watch those guys. But, college baseball is fun. The season just kicked off like a week ago. And there's a lot of good programs out there. Obviously, we've seen same SEC teams be awesome for years. There's a kid at Tennessee that throws a bajillion miles an hour. He's fun to watch. If you can find college baseball to watch, which it's unfortunately not televised a lot, it's on your SEC networks and your Big Ten networks, and it's on in the middle of the day, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. But there's a lot of scoring because they use aluminum bats still, and they hit the shit out of the ball, and they still throw really hard. So I mean, these are the next big things. I mean, that's about the best baseball you're going to get right now that you can watch, unless you want to travel to like Dominican Republic and Cuba and outside of the United States to watch baseball.
Or if you're lucky enough to live in a city that has minor league baseball, minor league baseball is still going on. They are not locked out. So if you have the opportunity to see minor league baseball, by all means, see minor league baseball. Those games are fun to go to. I went to a high school game a couple weeks ago and watched some high school baseball for the first time in nearly a decade. So,
do you watch any college baseball, Adam? Do you have a clue who the good programs are?
I follow a little college baseball. I know Vanderbilt's been pretty good over the last couple of years. South Carolina been pretty good. So I'm like minimal-ish when it comes to college baseball.
So where do you think Vandy is ranked right now?
Oh God, if I had to guess, I'm gonna say they're ranked probably 6th in the nation.
So they're ranked 5th.
Oh, I was close.
But they are a top program, and there's a little bit of a problem. The only reason they're 5th is because they started the season 1-2.
Ooh.
And they started the season as number 3. The number 1 team in the country isn't even ranked anymore. I can't even figure out who it is. It was probably South Carolina because they're not even ranked. But your top programs are Arkansas, Ole Miss, Oklahoma State, Vandy, Stanford, Mississippi State, LSU, NC State. Oh, they're there. They just labeled them differently. Oh, no, you said South Carolina. Never mind. LSU, Florida State, Arizona, Long Beach State, Notre Dame, Oregon State, and Florida. Those are your top 15. A lot of SEC schools, some Big 10, Big 12. Liberty is probably my favorite, like, no conference shit school. Comes out of nowhere. But they have a good program, a lot of good pitching. So if you get a chance to watch some college baseball, definitely take advantage and get your baseball fix, because I think we're in for a long winter, or whatever you want to call it.
I agree. Yeah, I'll probably have to start looking at some college baseball to see what's going on. I mean, if you want to look at other sports out of the realm, you have the NBA kicking off their second half of the season, so you have their playoff push starting. Same in hockey, you have those second half season starting, so the playoffs are going to be starting over there. You got the NFL draft that's going to be in April, so if you're a year-round football fan, you got the draft coming up. Major League Soccer is going to kick off their season in a couple weeks. So,
Adam, what are your favorite sports ranked? You also have March. Did you say March Madness?
No, I forgot March. Yeah, you have March Madness coming up. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. You have March Madness coming up.
And you have the Masters in April as well. April's a really good month for a lot of sports. Like, that's a good, like, overall month, because you got, the NFL draft. You have the Masters. You have March Madness really does end in April. Like, that's the championship. You have, I think that's when the big horse races start. Or
you got Kentucky really Derby is going to be coming up in a couple months, I believe. If they
really
haven't,
close to there.
Yeah, I know the schedule's been off with that last couple of years, obviously because of the pandemic and everything.
And then you have baseball, or then you have hockey and basketball playoffs culminating in April, May, and then playoffs in June. And yeah, it's the springtime sports is really good. Obviously that's when baseball actually struggles. So there's probably like a lot of mid fans that aren't really going to care that much about this lockout.
I will say one of my favorite times of the year has to be May, because that's when you have NBA playoffs, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and baseball all in one. So if I'm lucky to where the Bulls are in the playoffs, the Ducks are in the playoffs, I get playoff basketball, playoff hockey, plus regular season baseball all wrapped in one. I am just, I'm in heaven with that.
Evan.
But to answer your question, if I had to rank my sports by favorite, obviously, baseball. I'm a little biased here, but baseball would be number one. Then it would have to be hockey, soccer, football, basketball. And
Wow.
reason I say soccer because my wife played soccer. She was a goalie. And her side of the family loves soccer, so we try to go to Orlando City games a lot. We're all huge hockey fans, so we just love hockey. We got a minor league team down here in Orlando, the Solar Bears. We like to go see play. I'll say the best game I went to though, they did a playoff hockey game which went to overtime. And if you ever seen a playoff hockey game live, holy shit, your heart. I thought I needed an AED at the end of that game because every chance they got to the goal and every shot, you're just like, shit.
So, who's your hockey team? Are you a Lightning? What are you?
I am an Anna. So,
oh, that's right.
I'm a Ducks fan, a Ducks fan from Chicago. My wife's a Bruins fan, but we both cheer for the Lightning. We kind of say like, let's meet in the middle. Lightning are a common team because we're obviously in the state of Florida. So
you're so broken, dude. You're a Bears fan, a Bulls fan, and somehow not a Blackhawks fan. That is just sad.
They never showed Blackhawk games when I was a kid growing up. The Blackhawks did not have a TV contract.
Well, that's because hockey didn't have a TV contract. And watching TV when we grew up, Adam, you didn't want to watch hockey on TV when we grew up. It was blurry, it was ugly. You didn't want to watch hockey back
then. For those of you who are our younger generation, we had to actually plug cable into the wall. We didn't have any digital cable. We actually had to feed cable through a cable. That's how you get your cable.
The cable.
The cable guy.
The like high definition TV did so much for hockey.
Absolutely.
Watching it on TV. I remember the year that they tried to do that little tracer around the puck.
Oh yeah, the little like blue tracer. Yeah, that was crazy.
I don't know, man. It was fine with me. I mean, I didn't hate it, but the Blackhawks, when they were in the middle of their dynasty in like the early 2010s, that was so much fun. Playoff hockey is absolutely bananas. So live hockey is also one of the best experiences ever. So having both of those things in the same arena, playoff hockey has to be crazy intense. So that's fun. So going back to soccer, Champions League just started.
Yeah, Champions League.
Who are you rooting for?
I pulled for Manchester United. When I was on my college program with Disney, one of my good friends who I actually was a roommate with and good friends with was a Man U fan. So every time he watched the Man U game, I would watch Man U games with him, and I kind of just started following the team there. Which stinks because my boss at work is a Leicester fan, so she gives me a hard time for being a Man U fan, and I just cheer because of the logo. So, you got Champions League, you got Premier League soccer going on. So I've been following those leagues the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, but all the good Premier teams are playing in Champions right now.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so I got a buddy at work that's a huge soccer guy, so we've been following Champions the last couple of days, and it's not going the way that he thought it would. Ajax or whatever they're called got that they had a draw today, and they should have beat the snot out of the team they played. And then Man U also had a draw, I think, 1-1.
Yep, versus
Atletico Madrid.
Atletico Madrid, they drew 1-1. So I'll probably hear about that tomorrow when I go into work. So thank you, Chris, for just reminding me of that.
You're welcome. You are very welcome. I didn't get to watch either one of them. My TV was bugging. I was pissed. So as far as like the NBA playoffs, you're a Bulls fan. They're doing pretty good this year. Do you think they have a chance at the East?
I think they have a fairly good chance at the East, the way they've been playing. The only thing that worries me about the Bulls is the way they play against competitive teams. And obviously to win in any league, you have to beat the good teams. You beat up on the bad teams, but you have to win against the good teams. And I think not having Ball and Alex Caruso right now due to injuries, once we get those guys back in our lineup and we just add Tristan Thompson from Cleveland onto this roster, you're going to have a really competitive team once we get fully healthy. The problem is that we're not healthy right now. We're playing with out. We're playing with 2 superstars on our team on IL right now. Caruso's been cleared to do some basketball drills in the next 7 to 10 days. Ball's going to probably be about 2 weeks behind him. Once you get those guys back on the court, the Bulls are going to be a dangerous team. I think they can compete with Cleveland, with Milwaukee, with Miami, with Brooklyn. So I think they have a fairly good shot at the East.
We'll see.
I mean, if Chicago makes it to the finals, that city is going to go absolutely crazy because we haven't been to the finals since I was in middle school.
Yeah, I don't think they're there yet. That's just my take. I think Boston's going to be tough. I think Cleveland is. I don't think Cleveland's there yet either. They're young.
They're young, but they're still a good team that you have to be.
They're a good young team. They, Evan Mobley and Garland and the other big man, Jared Allen. They're ballers. I mean, they're good players. Boston's playing defense like it's their job, but yeah, in the NBA, you don't see a whole lot of defense in the NBA. No. Brooklyn, it's going to be super interesting to see how Ben Simmons fits in. Same thing with Philly and James Harden. That's going to go off on Friday, so that's going to be exciting. Hopefully Simmons is back for that game that they have coming up in a couple weeks because that's going to be super. Second half of basketball is awesome. Now that we're past the All-Star break and dude, you want to talk about a sporting event? The 3-point contest was better drama than the freaking dunk contest. The dunk contest sucked.
I've honestly lost interest in the dunk contest over the last couple of years. I actually look forward to the 3-point competition just because you can have one player just go on an absolute run in any one of the rounds on a 3-point contest. Dunks, they're just becoming more the same thing. You just one up each other and dunk. That's it. Scoring is everyone's going to get like an 8, 9, or 10 on scoring. 3-point I like because that's a little more skill. Because once you get into that rhythm, it's hard to. Once you get that first shot, and you get that second, you get that consecutive 3 going. It's hard to break that streak because you get that roll going. But
definitely. What else is going on? Do you watch golf?
I do watch golf. My dad's a huge golf fan, so we'll be definitely tuning into the Masters in April.
Honda Classic starts tomorrow. In Florida.
It's one of the 900 golf courses down here in the state of Florida.
But it's the first one in Florida on the tour. Anyway, whatever, bro. Do you want to talk about your jersey?
Yeah, so we kind of want to throw a little fun topic at the end. I mean, we talked a little lockout, which is a little bit depressing, but something fun. So ESPN a couple of weeks ago came out with their top 20 uniforms of all time. And this is top 20 throwbacks, current jerseys. They even threw City Connect jerseys in here. Your top 5 jerseys, Chris. I'm going to start from 5 and go up to 1. Number 5 was the 1979 Atlanta Braves home. So you're talking about the white Braves, blue script with the tomahawk feathers on the sleeves. What Hank Aaron wore when he broke Roof's record.
Gross.
Number 4. Okay, I'm not going to argue with that because you're a Mets fan. Number 4 is the Boston Red Sox home jersey. I mean, the classic Red Sox script on the white. I mean, you just think of Big Papi in that one.
Love it.
The White Sox 83 winning ugly jerseys, which were a fan designed jersey. Those were designed by fans, and the White Sox picked those jerseys to wear during the 80s.
Gross. I think those are gross.
You know what? I actually love those jerseys. I want one. Those are like on top of my wish list. That if I get another jersey, that's gonna be an 83 throwback jersey, and I will wear it proudly.
So gross. I love the black and white gangster socks shit, like the socks down the hat.
Their City Connect jerseys actually made the list, and let me pull it up real quick. And before I go, the 1983 Mets, the Darryl Strawberry jerseys were 13th on the list.
They're clean.
I mean, they're a clean jersey. You got the stripes on the shoulder and the arms.
The blue and orange stripes, and then the pinstripes, the blue and white pinstripes. Those are clean.
I mean, any pinstripe uniform, in my opinion, is a clean jersey.
Yeah.
Regardless of who wears it, I think pinstripes are just such a classic look. The White Sox City Connect jerseys were ranked 9. If you don't remember those City Connect jerseys, those were the Gothic print Southside black jerseys with white pinstripes. Probably one of the best City Connect jerseys that they came out with last year.
For
They
sure.
had to be.
Those
They
are
had to be
sick.
like the top jerseys that came out with last year.
Did they wear those during the Field of Dreams game?
No, they wore the 1919 throwbacks with the SOX on it.
That's right. That's right.
But those are
Yeah.
also
Those are
clean.
super. Yeah, those are nice. I like those.
Number 2, the classic New York Yankee pinstripe with the NY, the navy pinstripes. Those were the classics. And then your number 1 jersey was the Dodgers. Dodgers script Dodger blue.
I mean, that's kind of surprising that the Dodgers is better than the Yankees. Like, why the fuck did the? I'm gonna look up a couple because I think I want to look at.
So I have a little bit of a issue with this ranking. And my wife.
Which one?
My wife. Remember when the Devil Rays came out with the rainbow granite jerseys, the Devil Ray jerseys with the rainbow granite on it? They ranked 16th out of 20. I thought those uniforms were just kind of like out of the ordinary or something that you've never seen before. And they're actually a big hit in Tampa. If you go down to a Tampa game and you go see any of the dozen fans that go to the games, they prefer the Devil Ray jersey over this new logo. Obviously, the new logo they win a lot with, but fans love that old school Devil Ray jersey with the rainbow granite font on there, the Devil Ray streaking across the chest.
All right. I don't know. It's like the colors are just weird to me. Like the green into yellow. I mean, or the blue into yellow. It's fine. I don't hate it. I hate some jerseys out there. I'll tell you a jersey I can't stand is those fucking Miami Heat jerseys that were all like Miami Vice.
Oh, the Vice City jerseys.
Those are terrible. Those are terrible. Sorry, Miami.
Sorry, if you're a Heat fan listening, I'm sorry. You're just stretching that. I mean, the first concept you had was good. I like it. It was unique. It was different. You're just stretching that color palette way too far right now. I'm sorry. I mean, other jerseys down here, you had the Diamondbacks sleeveless purple jerseys, which if you remember in 01, they wore that every home game to win the World Series. You had the Seattle Mariners powder blue jerseys from the 70s, the Oakland Athletics golden yellow pullovers, the Astros rainbow jerseys from the 80s with the rainbow just across the stomach. That was another jersey that made the list.
Oh, some of these are terrible. Like that fucking 1977 to 80 Seattle Mariners. That's terrible. Sorry. That Expos jersey was tight. That 80s Expos jersey with just the all blue. That City Connect Miami jersey is nice.
I gotta say, some of the City Connect jerseys, with the exception of the Dodgers, I didn't like the Dodgers City Connect. It was just a basic blue jersey, but
yeah, the Padres jersey is number 11. The 2020 to present.
I am glad the Padres went back to that brown yellow scheme. I mean, I was when I started getting the jerseys and uniforms, I looked at their history and when they came out. I don't know why they dumped that brown and yellow look.
It was putrid,
but it works so well in today's game because you're the only team that has a brown and yellow look and it stands out.
Yeah, that's sick. That St. Louis jersey is tight. The Cubs are classic. That old school Pirates with that hat. That hat was terrible. With the it almost looks like
with the little stars on it and everything.
With the stars and the stripes, it makes it look like almost like a sailor's hat with a brim on it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like a sailor's hat, pretty much.
Yeah, like a big pop circle hat. Like there's no curvature to it. It's almost like a short Russian furry hat, but has black stripes around it, and it just has a P and some stars, and I don't know. Those are terrible.
And if you want to know, and I'll say this as a White Sox fan, the one uniform I believe that all White Sox fans can say I wish we never came out with, the day that the Sox wore shorts in the 70s during a doubleheader. I don't know what Bill Veeck was thinking during that time. Good Lord, that was a hideous mistake.
Terrible.
But the one style jersey I like that I wish that a lot of teams still have, I was a fan of the sleeveless jerseys, the pinstripe sleeveless jerseys that a lot of teams had with the different color sleeves.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw that from the 90s on to like the mid 2000s where a lot of teams had a sleeveless alternate. And I'm a huge fan of those jerseys. But again, that's just my geeky side of sports. I love the uniform technology that they come out with. I do a lot of reading on uniforms. But
You
that's
do a
just
lot
me.
of reading on uniforms?
Yeah, so I follow this website called sportslogo.net, and they actually go into like some of the technology of like how uniforms have evolved from a cotton uniform to a polyester blend, and they kind of went more of a engineering, how they engineer these uniforms to be lightweight. Some of these uniforms now are made out of 40% recycled material. These jerseys are 50% lighter than when they started at the beginning of the 2000. So it's just an interesting science of how these jerseys are made. It's not just you lay fabric down, you cut it, you sew it together. These things are engineered for each player. So each player has a different cut uniform, which is kind of impressive how far they go for this.
Totally. Absolutely. Well, folks, there's not a whole lot of baseball to talk about, but we filled the hour with lots of fun talk,
I
different
think we did.
sporting events and whatnot. I think there's a lot of things to bridge the avid sports watchers dream viewing time. Sports gambling is now legal in like all these states. Louisiana went live. Somebody else just went live like this week, like Alabama or Arkansas, one of them two states. New York is live. Maybe Mississippi's going live soon. So gamble on sports. It's fun. I throw $5 on damn near everything. It's a blast. But sooner or later, we're gonna have baseball, and we're gonna have some rosters getting filled rather quickly. We'll see. Maybe next week we'll talk about the top free agents left. We'll look at if there's some teams that might make some trades once this thing works out. I mean, we're gonna talk to you guys in a couple weeks. So what, March 9th is probably our next show.
Yeah, I'd say
So
March 9th.
looking forward to something happening.
And if you want baseball, you got MLB The Show 22 that's out, so you can actually play a full season of baseball. You can create your own player, put yourself in the minor leagues, work up to your favorite team.
So where are free agents in that game? Are they just not signed? Are they just hanging out?
I have no idea. I haven't gotten my copy yet. I want to get a copy. I still have MLB The Show 20, which I'll probably just continue playing on because I got a Road to the Show character that's in his third year right now. You can guess which team he's on.
The Devil Rays?
No, he's a White Sox. So let's be real. I put myself
He's
in
a White Sox.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to this year. It was funny. I was in this Discord channel the other day, and this guy did a parlay of a bunch of teams to win their perspective whatever. So, say Maple Leafs to win the Cup and Raptors to win the NBA championship, and I'm just making up Toronto shit now because I'm just going off of that. But they had the Mets in there to win, and like the first comments was like the Mets, ha 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 ha. Like I was like, motherfucker. And so I said something. I was like, look, man, have you even seen their offseason? He's like, yeah, but it's the Mets. I was like, dude, yeah, but it's a completely different organization than even it was 2 years ago. And the odds went from plus 2,200 to plus 1,100 in like a week. So
with all the signings that the Mets did, they're one of the favorites to come out of the East, and they're one of the top favorites in the NL to take home the pennant just based off their signings over the offseason. So whoever that guy was has not paid attention to what they've done in the offseason. The Mets have put themselves in a great position to be competitive.
Yeah, they're not going to win it next year, probably, but
no,
they might. I mean,
but you still have Atlanta as your defending division champs, league and World Series champs. They have a roster that can actually compete with Atlanta.
Right.
So he did not pay attention to anything in the offseason that New York did. So he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
I also placed another futures bet, Adam, and I'm going to tell you the odds to win their division and to win the World Series. No, I'll tell you all three. So their odds to win the division, they're plus 200. So they're the favorite to win their division, tied with another team.
Okay.
They are a plus 575 to win their league, and I don't know if I want to tell you that. If I tell you that, you'll know who it is, I think. And they're plus 1,300 to win the World Series. Who do you think I bet on? It's not the Mets. You obviously know I already bet the Mets.
Yeah, you already bet the Mets. I think this is an American League team?
It is an American League team.
All right. Were they in the playoffs last year?
Almost.
Ooh,
you know who my favorite American League team is.
You bet on the Blue Jays.
I bet on the Blue Jays.
You bet on the okay. So as you're thinking, I'm going okay. It's not the White Sox because he knows if he bets on the White Sox, they do the complete opposite of what he does. So I'm not going to go White Sox.
Nope.
I'm just trying to think. Yankees, they're kind of in the right now.
They were plus 200 to win the division, so they're tied with the Blue Jays to win the division.
So Blue Jays. That's actually a pretty good bet to take the Blue Jays on. That's okay. I can see that.
I think I did to win the World Series because why the hell not? If not, I probably did to win the American League, which plus 575 to win the American League isn't bad. I mean, they added Gossman. They extended Bautista. They already have a good offense. I think, and they'll be back home for all of their games this year. They made a hell of a push at the end of last year. So
they came up. So I was actually rooting for them last year to get in the playoffs because I think that would have been a great story to see playoff baseball back in Canada because it's nothing better than playoff baseball when you have baseball playoffs in a city that is normally known for hockey.
Yeah.
And you get another sport in there. I mean, when the Raptors won in 2019, you had the Raptors nest up there. They were going absolutely fucking bananas up there for the Raptors. Right. Imagine what it'd be like for Blue Jay playoff games up there.
Man, I can't even believe Kawhi was on that team. That's like fucking. It's only 3 years ago, and he's been through I feel like he's been with the Clippers forever. But anyway,
exactly.
That's who I placed my latest futures wager on. We'll see what happens after free agency and see if I want to throw down on somebody else before they sign. If Chris Bryant signs with the Mets, then I could see them jumping up even further. And
ladies and gentlemen, if Chris Bryant signs with the Mets, my co-host Chris will be out of this world. He'll be on cloud 9. He may pop in and out of these episodes, rather just be kind of filling time because he'll be running around his house like crazy.
Accurate. That's all accurate. Yeah, if they're going to go from plus 2,200 to plus. They might jump up to a top 3 favorite to win the World Series, but we'll see.
Exactly.
All right, folks, it's been a lot of fun talking about everything but baseball. No, I'm just kidding. It's been a lot of fun talking about what's going on. Giving you guys as much information and education and synopsis as we can, as much as we can, talk about this stuff because it is complicated. And hopefully, these two sides work things out quickly. Obviously, we've been saying that for 2 months now, but it's been a good time. Adam, I hope you had fun as well.
I always have a blast doing this, Chris. I look forward to doing this every time. So I'm hoping that we can talk more baseball in the future. But until then, we'll fill with this random crap that we can throw on the show.
Amen, brother. All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.